Hook you up in a minute. Okay, I am live. Okay, and now I'm just simply waiting to hear from Mr. Foreman. Your purchase software awaits. Unblock your device's potential and
just
yeah.
Press the exit.
Exit.
Yeah, just dismiss.
Oh, this right here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and now call me back. And then to do the interview. Call me right back.
Okay. All right. All right. Hey, how y'all doing? You know, I'll be right there, dear. Right now we're working on getting things. Well, I'm back. Okay. Okay.
Michael Harris.
Yes.
Hey, Michael Harris, how you doing? World famous Hall of Fame, Michael Harris. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and who is this?
This is George Foreman IV.
You sound like one of those dudes off the street, man.
I'm trying to code switch to make sure I represent my district well, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. Should he be on this other phone over here too? I guess not, huh?
Should I be on another? He said, should I be on another phone too?
Okay, well I gotta, at least put this thing in, in the phone holder, so I don't have to hold the phone all the time.
All right, hang up, and then we're gonna call you back.
Oh, that's how you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, welcome to the Michael Harris, Gary Stone Person to Person podcast. And we are still in our developmental stages. You probably say, man, why didn't you master all this before you got on the air with it? Well, hey, sometimes you think you have it, and sometimes you fool yourself. You think you do and you don't. So anyway, let me accept the call on that phone. Hello.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I cannot see you clearly. Yeah, that's the TV up there. My TV. That's giving me the background noise right now.
Okay. Like on my end, you can hear me clearly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Are you and Alessandra together?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so.
You have me on speaker?
Yes, I have you on speaker, so you must be on your best behavior.
I will be on my best behavior. I will not embarrass you, I promise.
Okay. Well, anything you want to say opening?
Opening?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start this. I'm George Foreman IV, pastor of the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, two-time Texas Southern University graduate and lifelong public servant. I'm honored to be on call with the great Michael Harris, Hall of Fame journalist, and more than anything, I'm honored to be able to put myself in a place to represent the people of my district. So everybody knows George Foreman for the products that he sold, and sometimes even for the fights that he fought. And you know that the world famous George Foreman was a lifelong public servant and gave everything he had to serving the community of Houston, Texas, from the colleges to the nonprofits, even the people. Everything he had, he gave it to the people. So I'm a product of his public service, and a second generation servant to the community around me. So I'm honored to be here with you. Hopefully I can be a great storyteller, tell a little bit about myself, and more than anything, win over the voter.
Okay. Now, this is something.
Also, put your TV on mute is what I've been instructed to tell you.
Yes. My television has been turned all the way down. I am a soap opera fan. I actually started watching soaps.
What's your favorite soap? I can guess. All my like that.
Yeah, I watch All My Children and One Life to Live. I used to watch.
You were good friends with my aunt Peapod. And then one thing I remember about when I got dropped on her, when All My Children came on, you sat down and you were real quiet till her soaps were done. So
yeah,
I definitely understand.
Yeah, and then we had at one point One Life. I did One Life to Live and All My Children. There was General Hospital, and And I forget the other one, the one with Erica Kane. In fact, when I went to New York, on one of my first trips to New York, one of my friends was working for ABC Radio, and they got me into the ABC studios, and I saw Michael Knight and a host of other people. Um, that was years ago, probably before you were born, big fella. But then maybe you were born then. Tell us about George Foreman #4. How about that?
Well, George Foreman #4 is interesting enough. All my brothers have the exact same name. So being George Foreman IV, being an individual for me started with sports. My dad was a boxer, so I stepped out on my own and played football. And that made me, number one, a fierce competitor. I'm fiercely competitive. But more than anything, my dad put us in the gym. And being in the gym means that we were voluntold to keep the youth center clean, organized, and be a safe place for kids to get off the street. So I was really raised in a nonprofit serving the community. I never really had a bone in my body that had a love for money. Money is not a motivator for me, but being highly skilled and effective and being needed was always high value to my family. My dad used to always say, the worst thing you can do is come home from college and you can't do anything that people need. So he's a Job Corps graduate. I'm a board member of the National Job Corps Association. So having the skills that pay the bills is something that's always been a part of my identity and a big importance to my family. So when you think of George Foreman IV, to me that is a servant to others and somebody who's devoted to not just having, just being able to make money, not just being able to make money. That's not why I became a sales executive at Ferrari or a policy analyst, development officer at Texas Public Policy Foundation. It wasn't just about bringing in the money. It was about doing the work that made a real difference in the community.
Okay. You mentioned the Job Corps. My brother, McQuester, went to the Job Corps back in the latter part of the 1960s and got his training there. And it's really amazing. You may not be aware of this, but your father and I have a lot of parallels. A lot of parallels. Now, I didn't become a fighter or become, a heavyweight champion and starred in movies and all that sort of stuff. But the fact that they both went to the Job Corps, your grandmother, Miss Nancy, ended up in the TB hospital up in Tyler, and that is where my mother was. She went there probably in about 54 or 55 and stayed up there, several years. And I made many a trip, we made a trek to Tyler to visit with her. And your grandma may have been there around the same time. I don't know if they got a chance to know each other, but there are a lot of parallels that went on. And then, of course, I met your dad back in, I guess, around 74. He was driving a Stutz Bearcat, came by the...
That's Black Hawk. That's an amazing car.
Okay, well, Black Hawk then. It was cream colored, I think. It's been such
That's what I heard. I never got to see it, but he talked about it all the time.
He came by in his Stutz, and for the first time in my life, he did something that I had never experienced before. It was for the United Negro College Fund, and we used to do the radiothon for the UNCF, and he pulled out 30 $100 bills and placed them in my hand and told me to put it in the bucket for the benefit of the UNCF. And that picture that we have together, shaking hands back in our psychedelic
with
days.
The afros and the bell bottoms, that picture?
Yes, that picture.
Yeah, I know that picture well.
Yeah. Well, that picture was taken on that day in the Gold Room of 1430 AM KCOH Houston. And we became friends after that. Yeah. So that was the first time I ever had that much money in my hands. And I put it in the basket like I should.
Good man. A lot of people would have put half in there and take another half up the street.
Nah.
I think more than anything, that's the story of George Foreman. He was always trying to beat everyone else in giving. That's what he wanted, his main passion. He wanted to outgive everybody. I remember one time, and now that I get older, I'm like, man, that's crazy. He said, I won't be, he said, because of what America did for me, he said, when I was growing up in Fifth Ward, I had nothing. We were so poor. We were just, we couldn't even afford the second OR. He said, but America gave me the chance to get a trade skill, sent me to the Job Corps, and brought hope to my life for the first time. And if I don't care if I pay $1 billion in taxes, I'll do all I can for my country. And I remember him hearing that as a kid, and it blew my mind. And even now, as I'm an adult, I'm even more impressed because he knew what it really meant to come from nothing and to give back. So I'm really proud of that legacy.
And one of the other odd things is that my wife, Dietta Yvonne Sanders Harris, ended up teaching at the school that George went to, Atherton Elementary.
Atherton Elementary, yep, that's it, with the great Mr. Lemon. He always, every once in a while, pop out of church and tell some old stories. But I know the area well. My son is actually in school in Fifth Ward now, and so it really rings home to me every time I take the road in, come up Hirsch, go down Lyons Avenue. I really envision what it would have been like for my dad to come and cross those railroad tracks and build a name for himself. So it's important to me that we carry on that legacy. And then, of course, your wife has been an inspiration to me, and those good care that you take care of her. That's what it really means to be a man.
Now, I don't know exactly how old you were when I met you, but you and Red were sitting on the front seat in the old church, and I don't think y'all's legs reached the floor.
I don't think so. Yeah, you came in the church, and you, of course, always sharp. I said, you look like Martin Luther King.
Oh, yeah.
And your mustache and your glasses. I don't think I remembered your name at the time, but you were like, hey, thank you. That's a great compliment. I was just telling you a matter of fact. I wasn't trying to compliment you.
Oh, okay.
Looking back on it, that's one of the earliest memories I have about you.
Well, that's the first time that I remember seeing you two, and I've been around you now for, how old are you? Are you 40?
I'm 37, just approaching 40 now.
Oh, okay. So Alessandra's older than you are.
Okay, I don't know. She doesn't tell her age, and I don't tell her age.
Oh, okay. Well, she's older than you are. Since I've said it already, I may as well say it again. And she'll get me when she gets home. All right.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, and I think it's even more special to me that we would be able to have this conversation to talk about the new direction of my life and my campaign, not just for the people in the church, not just for the people at the community center, but for the people in the Congressional District.
Well, I thought you were going to be a football star, but you ended up being a salesperson, a marketer, an advisor, and now you want to be a member of the Congress of these United States of America. I have to.
I must have taken so many hits in football that now I'm crazy enough to think I can lead a nation.
Well, if you go into Congress, you're not going to lead the nation, big fella. But maybe you'll work your way up.
You hope has to start somewhere. Like I said, we go from Fifth Ward, we had nothing but hope. So I'm going to take it all the way to Congress to see if we can make a difference.
All right. Now, for some reason, you chose to run for office as an independent. Would you care to explain why you are running as an independent rather than identifying with a political party? Or, you could have created your own party,
Yeah, well, I heard a lot of talk about those things. I think now is a critical time in our nation to step outside of the constraints of party lines and really bring innovation, new ideas, and new solutions to the forefront. I chose to run as an independent primarily because of my role as a pastor. I'm really devoted to being the best representative of the congregation. My dad, he left me to church, I thought, just for a moment until he could get on his feet. I didn't realize he was hitting me with the bait and switch. He left me at the podium, but it's been an honor to carry on the tradition of saving souls and telling people about the goodness of God. But outside of that, I'm devoted to being the best representative for not just my congregation, but for the constituents of the district. And for me, that meant declaring independence for our district. Nobody owns this district. This is the people's district. And it's not just about being bipartisan, but being a problem solver and the best representative for all the people of our district.
Now, I have to be a little messy. You know, messy starts with M, and there's an E in it too. You know, my name is Michael. So, when did you get the call, and how did you get the call? You know, George tells about when he was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he just lost that fight, and that's when he experienced hell. That you have to go experience hell in order to get the call. Or...
I heard my dad tell a story. I mean, he's told it my whole life. I must have been maybe around 8 or 9. I could have been 10. You know, young man, very young child. And I heard him tell the story of how God woke him up in the dressing room, brought him from the dead, and told him, I don't want your money, I want you. And it shook me to my core as a child. I just couldn't believe that God could speak to men and that it could scare them in that way. And I remember saying at a young age, I was saying it out loud, God, you don't have to do that to me. I believe. You don't have to do what you did to my dad. I believe it. And from then, I think it was just about following the leader. You know, I had mentors around me that did great things, but always came and sit down in church. And so before you knew it, I was teaching Sunday school. And then my younger brother was teaching Sunday school, and then I was playing the guitar in church. And then my dad would call me up to say a little bit, talk about what God has done for you. So in essence, I think I was kind of groomed for it, being raised in the church. I was always scared to miss church, so church was always a part of my life. When my dad took Bill is when I felt like we needed to, as a church, as a community, step up and keep the church going. During COVID, the George Foreman Youth Center closed down. It had to. And I was teaching boxing in parks, and the youth center really never recovered from that. And it was important to me and my brother Red and my sister Natalie that we didn't let the church follow the same fate as the youth center. So while the nonprofit continues, we no longer have a brick and mortar location for the youth center. I never wanted the church to have that problem. So that meant keeping the doors open, being a safe place for people outside of the community. And now, for some reason, people actually call me pastor when they come in there. That wasn't the goal. The goal was just to continue to be a good place, keep the doors open, so people in the community had a safe place to come in and pray.
All right. Another question, and it may seem a little irrelevant to some, especially to my critical daughter sitting there, but are you Big Will or are you Big Will? W-H-E-E-L.
So I actually inherited my name. My name is multi-generational. I got it from my great-grandfather. His name is Will Nelson, but they called him the Big Wheel. He was a local big shot. He had a corner store and a mule and a wagon, and that made you a big shot in East Texas. And he also had these daughters, these powerful daughters, who would actually work the field, get out there and work the mule and plow crops and make timber, cross gears that they put on the railroad.
Cross ties.
Cross tie. I don't even know what they are, but they used to make them. Those women used to get out there and make them and outwork men. Instead, Big Wheel would have to run men off. They'd come from all over East Texas to come see those hard-working women in the field. And so when I was born, I was such a terror baby. I came out screaming. The doctor didn't even have to pinch me or pat me to make me yell. And my mom got scared. And my dad said, don't be scared. That's the Big Wheel. And the name is stuck ever since. But Will Nelson was his name. And so some people even call me Will. But the name is Big Wheel. W-H-E-L.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And again, you gotta remember too, I'm George Foreman IV. So I had to be something. I couldn't just be George. There's too many of those.
Yeah, well, it can be advantageous and it can be disadvantageous because they have to keep up with the number just in case. Which one are you?
That's right. Oh, yeah. And sometimes I don't want to be a number. I'm just George, so I can get out of there.
Okay. So what inspired you to run for Congress at this particular moment? Don't forget now, you just lost your dad. You've become pastor of the church. I know you are a father, and you have a whole lot on your plate. what do you do professionally?
Growing up, my dad, he called it the shotgun strategy of business. And it was like, if you're going out hunting, and you have nothing at home, you don't bring a straight shooter, you bring a shotgun. So that way, you're going to bring home something to feed your family. You can't miss with a shotgun. And that was our business mind. That's how we came to the business world. We went out, scoured the earth for the best products, solutions, and services, and brought them back to my dad. And that was my profession. I was an agent for George Foreman. I did, of course, did some great work for Ferrari, Texas Public Policy Foundation, even a lot of jobs at Texas Southern University, Bread of Life Inc., a church here in Houston, Texas. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits. I've always done a lot. But that's because there's 24 hours in a day. And I always felt like if there's time to do more, you should learn how to do more. And so that's what I did. Now, when Sylvester Turner died, our rep, I was a little bit frustrated, a little bit angry, but more than anything, I was hurt because there were so many things I hoped we could do together for our city. His vacancy left an absence, and that inspired me to pick up the torch and carry it for my time. So right now, it's all about what can we do to get the best representative for the people, for our district, and this campaign represents a national movement for better representation, free from partisan interference, and I think that's what this district needs.
All right, we're talking with George Foreman, number 4. He is an independent candidate for the 18th Congressional District. Now, one thing that you didn't do, Mr. Foreman, Pastor Foreman, Big Will, you didn't mention that you taught school.
Yeah, but that's true. I'm a certified social studies teacher, so history is my passion. During the COVID shutdown, my mom, she was like, well, you should become a teacher. That's something I've always wanted you to do, was become a teacher. I'd be really proud of that. I was like, well, what should I teach? And I thought about, well, what is it that I would want to talk about every day? And if you know me, all I do is drop random history lessons. So I got certified as a history teacher. I taught world history, world geography, U.S. history, civics. I'm also certified to teach economics and government. So this is really, truly a passion of mine. And my time at Texas Public Policy Foundation, working in, educating lawmakers on policy, really enriched the life of a history teacher. So, definitely a teacher. And so, like I said, again, if you're a teacher, you're a public servant. And the pathway of a teacher is giving all your life to the children of the district. So being a representative really means bringing the best ideas from the ground up to the top so they know how to implement the best solution. So I have an infinite understanding of what education innovation really means from the ground up. And that's something I'd like to bring to our leaders.
And so what are some of the schools that you have worked at as an educator so that people can know more about your life and your experiences? Because what we're I won't say we, but those persons who don't know you are probably most familiar with are your TV appearances and the fact that you played, and the fact that you played football.
I was never passionate about being famous. That was never important to me. My dad was famous and the name was famous, so being useful and needed was really my passion. Making sure that people wanted me there and that I could offer something to the community. So even when I was in high school, I was in a program called Ready, Set, Teach, and another one called Avid. And what we were doing is we were teaching literacy at the K through 5 level. And that was even before I got to college. So teaching has always been a part of my trajectory. And that was in Huffman, Texas, Huffman ISD. I'm also a registered long-term sub in Aldine ISD. And my teaching started professionally at Yates High School. So I taught history at Yates, right in the heart of our district. So I really understand the intimate needs of those who are at the most risk in our schools. And more than anything, the obstacles that the teachers face coming to work every day and trying to keep these kids motivated to get a good education. It's a thankless fight, but more than anything, These are the largest employers in our district, the education system. So these are the ones and the people who need to be advocated for. So we need representatives who have literally fought that fight and understand the needs of not just the students, but the teachers, the principals, the administrations, and even the superintendents. They need to be advocated for, not fought against.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that George was a bit of an independent. Michael Leo preached a sermon years ago entitled "Straddle the Fence," and being a fence straddler is not necessarily what people take a lot of. Well, some people don't take a lot of pride in it, because what one should really be interested in is, I guess you could say, truth and justice, not the American way. You know, that's what they used to say about Superman. He was for truth, justice, and the American way, because America's ways have not always been the right ways, if you know what I mean.
I think, on the issue of straddling the fence, I think when you say that, it made me think about my life on the ranch. My family were cattle ranchers, and my dad would take us out of the city as soon as school got out and straight to the pasture. And we would have to catch these young bulls and get them ready for the meat market. For those who let those with ears, let them hear. If you know, if you've ever worked in cattle, you know what that means. But what I learned about cattle, they would run from you. The minute they saw you, they were skeptical. But when you came in with a bag of feed and kicked that gate open, they were yours. They would follow you like the Pied Piper. Mm-hmm. And I think more than anything, that's what we said, the American way. The American way is about opportunity and capitalism, freedom. That's the American way. And those are the things that I'm passionate about. People want our representatives to bring solutions, bring home the bacon, if you will. And that's what I'm devoted to. I'm not trying to straddle any fences. I'm trying to kick open the gate and shake the feed bag and lead everybody to salvation.
Well, there's nothing wrong with straddle the fence, in my opinion, especially when it comes to politics. You really have to have a belief system. And if you believe in something, even if it's the other, you're running as an independent, but let us just imagine that you are a typical black person in the state of Texas. More than likely, you would be a Democrat. But if you happen to differ with the party on an issue, I think that you should be man enough to stand for what you believe in, or woman enough. And if you are a Republican and you agree with the Democrats, that you should be man or woman enough to stand for what you believe in and not be controlled by a party.
I think, I was always passionate. I'm a history teacher again, so pardon the history lesson, but when George Washington left office, he gave a warning to the American people about the risk of these parties and being more associated with parties than you were with the Constitution. And I'm a purist on our Constitution and the opportunity that comes from declaring we the people, just we the people. And before you are anything else, focus on being a U.S. citizen and doing your duty as a citizen. And then from there, you can start to see where you land on different issues. Now, one thing I've learned about working in our state legislature, just because you have an R by your name doesn't mean you're in agreement with everybody with the R by their name. But just because you have the D by your name doesn't mean you're in agreement with everybody with the D by their name. And more than anything, our district has been held captive by a particular party at the expense of the needs of many people in our district, regardless of their party. And if you ask somebody how they feel, you get a group of 10 people, and you ask them, how do you feel about your representation? What has our elected officials from our house done for you? You'll get a mixed opinion about the past. And what I want to do is bring people to the table and let you know that I'm the candidate that's going to be a problem solver, regardless of what party you support. You live in my district, I'm here for you. I'm not going to ask, well, I was doing an interview for a job one day. A guy asked, how long have you been a conservative? And the person that came around with, does it matter? Because what's more important to me is, like, hey, I grew up in church. And I grew up, servicing my community. And my conservative values came from my passion in supporting my community and supporting my church. And I never, my dad was a salesman, so it didn't matter. He knocked on the door or stand in front of Walmart, shaking hands and sell a grill. He didn't ask what party you are. He didn't ask if you like electric, charcoal, gas. He just said, I got a great grill. Try it out. And I think that's what this is about. I have the best policies. I want the best policies to lead, not the party. And I think that's what we need to focus on for the future of this district. Now, we might find that this district, the voters might turn out and say, you know what, this is who we are. And I think it should be up to the voters to decide, not a conglomerate who's raising money to hold our district hostage. I think it's about liberating the people, just like George Washington did. Give them freedom and then let them pick who they want to be.
Okay. You just used the term conservative, and then you used the term liberated, which is the root word, I guess you could say, of liberal. So
I use them both.
Okay. So what is a conservative and what is a liberal, in your opinion, Pastor Foreman?
I think it's a larger scale. I think the question is, what is it that you want to conserve? What is it that you want to preserve? And asking that question to people and then seeing what comes out. But hey, you know what? I really want a safe place for my kids, and I want to be able to pick the best place for them to get an education because I want to conserve my values because I don't like what the school represents. Maybe that's what conservative means values. Or maybe it's like, hey, you know what? I don't want my government to spend money so loosely and send my country and my city into debt. I want to conserve the money of our district. Maybe that's what conservative is for me. That's not for me to define. That's for the people to define. And that's the problem is government has allowed individuals with the most money to determine what it means to be a liberator, what it means to be conservative, instead of the people saying, these are the issues that we need addressed. And when hurricane, what was that, the last hurricane that caused all the trees to fall, little water damage? Pick a hurricane. When the hurricanes come, it doesn't matter which side who you voted for. You need help. And that's the candidate that I want to be. I want to be the candidate that brings help, not just to help to one side, help to liberals, help to conservatives. No, I want liberals and conservatives, when they need help, to know George Foreman is here for me.
Okay. Is my daughter still there with you?
Yep, she's here.
Well, she happens to be female, and I'm I guess you could say, an ultra male. and I do try to be inclusive. Ms. Harris, is there anything that, I know I have a list of questions here, but is there anything that you would like to question your friend about? Anything that he's...
Do you have any questions for me?
No?
No, stick to the script.
Oh, well, she knows I don't stick to the script.
What do I know about you, Dr. Harris? You're not afraid to freestyle.
Right. And no.
That's how you got that Hall of Fame title, man. You could have done.
Well, because I try to be inclusive, and I know that I'm a ultra male. I have, some feminist. I have a lot of feminist feelings, feminist attitudes, but I'm a man, and so, and I come from.
I also am a man, so I understand exactly what you're saying. But and I think too, what I found in our modern society, in the 1920s, women got the opportunity to vote, and in the 1960s, I wasn't there, but women got the opportunity to say, hey, you can't not hire me because I'm a woman. That's discriminatory. So now we're in a place where women can speak for themselves and advocate for themselves. And I think now we're in a place where we should be in a place where don't just support women. Some start co-signing women and say, you know what, let's give them a place at the podium to advocate for what they want and then be supportive. That's what's important now. And women women have their own voices and their own chance to lead. So it's about time we start co-signing.
And I can't believe that my daughter doesn't have anything to say, because I tell you, behind closed doors, she has plenty to say. And it's
that's I told you, women get Title IX and the Civil Rights Act and all this stuff. Man, women run the show now.
oh yeah, in fact, you have a lot.
Yeah.
You have a lot of women in your campaign. Your sister Natalie.
My campaign leadership is majority women. Majority women. And more than anything, I have to do a lot of listening to that because of it. But it's been an honor to have the support of women who are devoted to our district doing better. And I'm surrounded by women who are devoted to doing better. It's all about respecting them and respecting their voices.
Okay, but since we typically have a lot of Democrats and a lot of Republicans and very few independents, what are you going to say to people to make them decide that they don't want to vote Democrat? And most of us tend to vote straight ticket or Republican. How are you going to get them to?
There's a saying I heard, and if I misquote it, please apologize. But man, if I could have saved a lot more if they had only known they were slaves. You know what I'm talking about? God, what was her name? It'll come to me.
I know what you were talking about.
It was the great liberator. She built the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
And
Harriet Tubman. Yeah.
Yeah, you saved this many people, and you saved all these people from slavery. How did you do it? And her response was, I could have saved a lot more if they'd only known they were slaves. Well, the people of the 18th Congressional District don't belong to anyone. You are U.S. citizens with the right to vote. You don't belong to anyone. Maybe you identify with a party or another on certain issues, but you're free to vote for whoever you want. And I am the best candidate for you because I know that truth. And I'll bring that truth to Congress and remind everyone there that we need to do the best that we can for the American people, not for the parties. And now, if you're a strong Republican, great. I'm the best candidate for you because I'm willing to listen to your ideas and make sure that they are heard. And if you're a strong historical Democrat, great. I'm ready to listen to your ideas and bring them to the forefront. And if it means that we have to do some negotiating, well, it just so happens that I'm a lifelong businessman, and negotiating has been my lifeblood since I was about 17 years old, and my dad said, it's time for you to get to work. I've been a businessman and getting deals done. And my dad said there's no good deal unless both sides are happy. And I believe that America can focus on that, and we can bring the best deals to the forefront.
Well, I have to ask this.
Don't lose faith. You got to have faith, though, Mike. You got to have faith.
Okay. Well, it's let me get one of these questions here on my list again. If elected, what do you think your top 3 legislative priorities would be, and why do you think those priorities are so significant right now?
Well, I think because I'm in Houston, I'm a teacher from Houston ISD, education, workforce development, and the infrastructure that creates safer communities, that to me is at the forefront of my mission and legislative priorities. So whatever comes to my desk, whatever bills come across my desk, the first thing I'll think about is Grandma Nancy, my grandmother, who lived in Fifth Ward, bouncing from house to house, and what she needed the city, the state to do to give her children the best opportunity. That's what my mind goes back to. What would Nancy Reed Foreman need in order to be successful? She lived in the district. She served the district. Our church is in the district. So the issues that best serve the elderly in our community, I'm a Medicare advisor, so I deal a lot educating senior citizens on the best Medicare options. So the policies that impact our senior citizens, the policies that impact our young professionals, like graduates, those who need trade skills, those are my focuses, and that's what I need to focus on to get things done.
This is not
and
on.
Also, you gotta remember, no matter what I do, I got to show up to church on Sunday and face my family and my congregation. And it's a non-denominational church. So I can't get too caught up in the one side or another. That's why I tell the truth.
Well, the one thing that, and you're my pastor now, but the one thing that has always bothered me about church, I guess since I got a little bit of education, I just wonder how can people who supposedly believe in God, how do they have such a hatred for people of color? Um, I don't understand that. You know, what do they say? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you don't want to be a slave, if you don't want to be denied, rejected, discriminated against, you know, for your color, uh, for your sex or your sexual orientation, why would you do that to someone else? And the thing that really bothers me about religion today is it seems like it's that old time religion that allowed people to be slave owners and to uh, deny women their rights and all of that stuff. Um, I just don't know. It, what if the Bible said there in one case there are none righteous, no, not one. I'm really beginning to wonder: is there anybody righteous anymore?
There's a story, I actually read it the other day about Moses going up the mountain and coming back with the Ten Commandments. And when he gets back down, he sees that, you know, his people, the children of Israel, had started worshiping, what they call it,
Idol?
molten calf, an idol. They started worshiping an idol. He broke the commandments written with God's fingers because he was so disappointed in them. But what he did was he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights and focused on being the best leader to lead his people to the promised land. And I think what you're saying is human nature. That's human nature. To look out for your own self-interest at the expense of your fellow man. See a dollar on the floor and say, "Ooh, I found a dollar." Now, who dropped the dollar? That's nature. But I think what's important is that we have good leaders who remind people to be righteous people and show them the pathway to doing better. And maybe that means you have to have leaders who are sacrificing what they eat so that way they can lead their people, and sacrificing what they drink so that they can lead their people properly. And, you know, I think I'm uniquely positioned as a leader of a church to advocate for the best interest and doing the most good for the most people. True religion is all about doing good for your fellow man. Love God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's true religion. And I bring that with me everywhere I go, and I'll definitely be bringing it to the Congress.
Well, and another thing that I noticed in my growing up and going to school here in the good old state of Texas, I can't remember being taught anything about the good that any ethnicity in this country did, um, except for Caucasians. And
I had a student that reminded me of a student. Yeah, he was troublesome, man. He come into class carrying on a rocket. I only did one assignment, but one day I'm teaching class and I said, "Mr. Foreman, how come you don't ever teach us about Black history, what Black people did?" I took a step back. At first I was frustrated because I was like, "You don't even do your work." So I took a minute and thought, and I gave him a perspective. I said, "Everything that I've taught you from I went back even to the Silk Road. I started teaching class about the Silk Road because that really gives them a global perspective about world trade and global interaction. And one thing about the Silk Road, you cannot teach the Silk Road without spilling into Black history and the Arab traders who come and buy silk and bring it to Europe. Like all history includes all people, but it's so easy to forget that and teach that. So as a history teacher, it's very important that I peel back the layers of history and who did what, and really show students what our nation is made up of people seeking liberty. Right? The first great farms here were built by Africans came here on Spanish ships with conquistadors, and they survived and wrote letters to Spain. They said, hey, you sent us here to fight a war, but hey, look, now I got a church and a wheat farm, and if you send me a little bit of support, we can probably do some nation building here. These are people of color from all over the world, and led associated with people from Spain, people from England, people from France, people from India. Oh my gosh, all the great individuals from India, what we now call Pakistan and China. That's the American dream. The American dream is about bringing your great idea to our soil, being innovative, and then taking that innovation back around the world and knowing product. That's America. And if we can teach that and show people that, as a great Martin Luther King, you judge a man not by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. You got to teach that every day so people don't fall back into their baser selves and start to think that there is more than one race. There's only one race. It's the human race. But there are many nationalities, and of course there are many types of people, primarily decent and indecent people. I focus on being a decent person and a good U.S. citizen, a good American, and I'll let that speak for itself. So if you look at me and you say, well, you're a black man, or if you look at me and you say, oh, well, you're a Texan, you look at me and you say whatever you want, but I am an American and I'm a U.S. citizen, and that's what I'm devoted to. And I think more people need to take on that identity first before they start putting on other hats, and then they can really start to see what we have in common.
Well, this is not on my list, but I'm going to ask the question. What do you think of our current president, Donald John Trump? Does he have, he does not have an ethnically diverse group of people behind him. He has males and females, but most of them are Caucasian, or people who seem to want to be Caucasian.
There's a culture. I think that's a culture story, and I think everyone at the end of the day, one of the things I learned, and a lot of people know this, but I have a master's degree in public policy, and I'm a critical thinker about government. It was very important to me that I understood how governments spend money, so that way I could advise, especially my local government, on how to properly spend money and be a good resource. And on that vein of culture, what's important to me is that sometimes we have to bring the culture. There'll be stories I heard about the wet nurses, they call them, and the slaves who were the breastfeeders of the master's kids.
Right.
So you look up, and the master's kids had a passionate love and devotion to their wet nurses. Even taught as they got older, raised their kids together. Even the great Frederick Douglass was taught to read by his master because she identified and loved him like a child, taught him to read and educate him. So America is a melting pot of cultures, and sometimes we can't get so caught up into the culture of the face that we see, because behind them, there are probably other colors and other faces that they are representing, supporting, and trying to do right by, just like the great Frederick Douglass.
Okay, that's I'd like to see more of that.
But I think it's about people not being afraid to speak up. Like we were talking earlier about my conservative values, and I was raised in the church, and I'm not afraid to speak up about that. I'm emboldened because I feel like God will protect me in that space. But it might be easy if I sit in the crowd with a lot of people that people might not know that I'm a preacher and I have values based on what I learned and where I'm trying to get to heaven at the end of the day. Well, but sometimes you got to ask, look behind the veil and see what's there.
So how do you feel about, I guess you could say, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion?
Well, you got to remember, Mike, I come from the business world. So this term of equity, that's a business term, and I feel like it's been misappropriated. A lot of people get really defensive about a word that's often misused. So I think we need to first educate people on what these terms really mean, and not let individuals hijack this terminology to bully our businesses, and they're doing what they want. Everyone deserves to be included in government, but not everybody deserves a piece of the pie if they want a part of making it. So just showing up and demanding a slice when you didn't pitch in, I'm talking from a business standpoint. That's when this conversation of equity becomes frustrating for me. So I think we need to properly define things and not let people hijack our language and force them into their boxes. And with diversity, I play football. Diversity to me means the best people in the right positions to do the best good and bring home a win. That's what diversity is. Now, if I look in the mirror and focus on my skin color, then I might think that I'm not included. But that's not the case. I'm included wherever I want to be included. I wanted to be a Medicare provider, so I got licensed and built Foreman and Associates insurance services. And I could advise people on the best healthcare plan for them. That was inclusion for me, with being a business owner and having an impact myself in the businesses that I wanted to make a difference in.
Well, do you still have Foreman and Associates?
I do. So if you need any Medicare advice up until I get elected, I'm here for you. After that, I got to pass the buck.
Well, hey, you can pass some bucks now. We need advertising dollars. But in terms of equity and inclusion, people seem to want to make that a bad word. They want.
Like I said, it's been hijacked. Right? It's been hijacked. I work at Yates High School, right?
Right.
And if you ever been to Yates, you know who is at Yates.
Yo.
So what does DEI mean at Yates? You know what I mean? And if you let somebody hijack you and thinking that your voice doesn't matter, you might really start to believe that. But when you're in an environment where people are devoted to doing the best they can for the people who need the most need, then these things the definition starts to change. So I think we need to stop letting people define terms for us, and we need to learn how to get out, vote, pick our elected officials and speak for ourselves.
I haven't done a good job of hosting this program. I haven't told people that I was talking with George Edward Foreman IV, Big Will. And he's running as an independent for the 18th Congressional District seat that is currently vacant. Our governor chose not to have a special election in time for this particular congressional session that's going on because they wanted to have an advantage and not have another Democrat who could be in Washington, and possibly stop the Trump train. And so,
one of the things I learned at my time working at our capital here in Texas was how important it is people learn how to find the victory. We got to learn how to find a victory. And there's an art to achieving victory. And a lot of times that means crossing party lines, building friends on both sides of the aisle to get great things done. Now, oddly enough, in Texas, a lot can get done without involving everyone. People can align and get things done. So I think if anyone has an opinion about this redistricting, now is the time to make friends across party lines to make sure that your voice is heard. Now, there's a lot. You got to remember, I'm running for a congressional seat, and I want to be a good steward of my state, and more than anything, protect my state from overbearing federal government, to be a kind of a middleman between state and local government. But that means you got to let people do their job. You got to let our elected officials do their job. I'm born and raised right here in our city. My grandma's from our city. My dad, born and raised, fought in the streets of our city. And from Barbara Jordan to Mickey Leal, Sheila Jackson, even growing up north, to Representative Cunningham. What's the other one here in Houston? My dad used to call him Dudley Do-Right, telling him to do the speed thing. Harold Dutton. I trust them to do their job. I really do. And I support them in doing their job. I'm not here to make it seem like they're not good at their job. I believe in them, and I believe that they're going to take care of this issue. And I know that these individuals can work with our governor to make sure he does right by the people. I know that they can do that because they've shown that to me in the past.
Okay, but think about this. Um, your mom was born, I believe, in St. Lucia. Was she born there?
Yeah, my mom was from
Hmm.
Yes, my mom's from St. Lucia, island of St. Lucia, a small island, an
Yeah.
independent island.
Yeah. And I guess she and anybody else who was not born here in these particular circumstances. I know she's a citizen by now, but how do you feel about all the I guess you could say the political movements concerning people? Well, it used to be if you were born in America, you were an American citizen. Now the Trump administration seems to be wanting to change that. Uh, if you were in Congress now, do you have any idea where you would be on that issue? Maybe I shouldn't have asked you about where your mom was born.
Well, I think it goes back to trusting our leaders. And right now, we do not have a leader in our district. We are absent of better representation. Now, when I get there, I guarantee I will be bringing the best ideas, and there could not be a candidate more qualified to speak on this than the son of, as you say, an immigrant. Yeah, my mom immigrated here by choice because she wanted to be a part of the great American dream. And she taught us the values of that opportunity. Her grandmother told her, hey, you go to America and make something of yourself so you can do good for your family. And as an American, it's my job to do good for my people and for my family, and that's what I'm devoted to. So I'm just trying to get there so I can do the most good. It's easy to speculate about what what they should be doing, but what's more important is that we have a representative there that serves our needs. And there are a lot of people in my district who immigrated from other places and need good representation. And I want them to know that I'm the best representative for them, and I need your vote.
Well, um, how long can you stay with us? It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, hey, you want to have time for a couple more questions and we can wrap? I want to make sure you got time to ask whatever questions you want. You've been such a great leader in our city. My dad used to drive down to KCOH and point out the radio station, and we'd see in the window. I see you over in the window doing your thing, and so I want to make sure I give you time to not just educate me, but educate the community about me. I'm thankful for the opportunity. So I want to give you all the time, but let's give you 2 more questions and then we'll go.
Okay. Well, hey man, it ain't costing you nothing. You might want to stay. The number here is 832-564-9609. 832-564-9609. Shout out to Clem Trotter, Richard Cobb, Tom Overton, and anyone else who happens to be out there listening to George Foreman IV. George has done a lot of stuff, folks. He traveled the world with his dad when he was traveling with the Fonz and the Shat. Who else was in that group?
Harry Bradshaw,
oh
William
yeah,
Shatner,
yeah,
George Foreman, and Jeff Dye. Am I forgetting somebody? I think that was it. Oh yeah, better late than never. A great show to look at. Pure joy all over the world.
And how long did that run? And what are the countries that? You got to. Well, I won't say you got
all over the world.
All over the world.
Africa, Europe, and Asia, multiple countries. And I'll tell you what, I learned a lot about the power of local government. When you go to countries that have buildings older than your home country, you start to really see the power of the voice of the people and what happens when people work together for the greater good. So I got to really learn how famous the Fonz was all over the world, or William Shatner. You want to see fame? You go to Tokyo, Japan with William Shatner. That's fame. And I guess what I always say, I don't want to be famous. I want to be the best person and the best public servant. I want to be easy.
Well, I don't care about being famous. I want to be rich. That is a joke, but I've never experienced it, but some people might say you've had an opportunity to experience it. So how did you end up back in the hood, big fella?
Remember, my dad was a man of the people. And he could have built his church anywhere in the world, but he built it right in the city in the heart of the city that needed it the most. And so that's where I was raised, and that's what my life has been. So I didn't even know my dad was famous until I was about 16 years old, because he kept us right here at the youth center. He kept us close to Grandma Nancy's house, right there off Knightwood, and that's who we were. And he never let us hang our hat too high. He kept us really humble. He would always tell us, "You're not rich. You don't have a maid. I have a maid. You get in there and get your work done." Or, if you don't get a good education, you'll never make anything of yourself. So you need to focus on getting a good education. He even said, you can't even box till you graduate college, because he knew, because of the way we grew up in boxing gym, and one of these fighters, my brother Monk, undefeated fighter. So being a part of the community, living right here in the heart of the city, that's just how we were raised. And I'm a child of the district, so serving the district of Township.
Okay. Well, I guess the last question would be the last question that I have down here. Let's say, and I'm quite sure now a number of voters are undecided, because it's going to be a powerful field. I think, I don't know whether Sheila's daughter is going to run or not. Some people were saying that she might run. Uh, then there is, I think Jolanda Jones may be thinking of running. Do you have any idea who your opponents are, or do you mind mentioning those names?
My job is to advocate for the needs of the people, not to detract from anybody. I am the best candidate for this district because of my unique background and experiences. I think this is a critical time in our nation's history to pick representation devoted to problem solving. And if you feel like your government or your representatives have left you behind, which a lot of people do, then I'm the best candidate for you. If you feel like both parties have ideas that you like, well, I'm the person for you. If you feel like these parties need to work together, I'm the candidate for you. I think it's about promoting myself and the solutions that I bring to the table.